We're going to go over Ticketmaster. We might not get through all of it. I just want to get you in a good spot to where you can kind of build off of it and kind of finish it up on your own. If you are getting stuck with the Ticketmaster API or going down like a rabbit hole, get you on the right track. Kind of what the overall architecture is generally going to look like. Mine's not going to look pretty. It's all going to be the bare bones, basic stuff. Encourage you to go back to Bootstrap and clean it up, make it look nice and pretty. So this morning, John went through and kind of showed you how to use the Google Maps embed API, which is pretty straightforward, relatively easy to use. It's probably one of the easier APIs you'll be using. And you can make your app sexier just by using it. Ticketmaster, not so much. It's a little more ambiguous. The documentation isn't as great. If you've got to that point and you're trying to figure out which Ticketmaster API you're supposed to be using or what query set you're supposed to be using, it's not that transparent or easy to use as the Google Maps embed API. So release 0, you don't need to do a schema for this because you're not saving anything. So you actually don't have to create a model. You don't have to create a Postgres database. You're just doing requests and responses from APIs. So I'm in my Kilo challenges, ls. I'm going to git clone this. Git clone. ls Ticketmaster, ls clear. README. So I need to start in Django project. The Django admin start project. I'm going to call this Ticketmaster. And I'm going to tell it to put everything in the current file. Because before it was like you create a project and then there'd be another level, there'd be another directory, one level deeper with the project name. I just want to create it in the current directory version. So I'm going to open this in the current window. I'm going to zoom in. Or zoom in again. There we go. Ticketmaster, whatever URL you're familiar with. I'm going to delete all that. Don't need that. I need to create an app in Ticketmaster. So ls python manage.py. Whoop. Getting ahead of myself. What do I first need to do? Create a virtual environment. Python make DMB. My virtual environment. I don't know what that means, whatever. Python. Nope. Source. DMB. Bang. Activate my virtual environment. Clear. Now, what do I need to do? Install Django. I don't need to install anything else at the moment. I'm not doing Sitecop PG2. I'm not interacting with the Postgres database. But read the README says typically when you make requests to a third-party API, you read through the documentation, make a request, and you get a response. Once you parse through the response, you can use that data to achieve your application goals. So here are kind of response requests. So we're going to be using this once we get to using the Ticketmaster API. Clear. So I created a Ticketmaster project, create a virtual environment. Now I need to create an app. Concerts. I'm just going to call the app concerts. This is a Python manage start app. Is that right? I don't know. All right, cool. There's my concerts app. Got my views, models, everything. Now, first thing I need to do is go into settings, connect the concerts app in our Django project Ticketmaster. So, concerts. Put a little comma there. I'm gonna just start everything up, make sure everything works. Python manage.y run server. All right, I don't need to apply any migrations because I'm not interacting with the database yet, or not interacting with my database. So I'm gonna do localhost 8000. Django, cool. We haven't created any URLs yet. So let's create our first. Let's look at. So create a schema for this. We're not creating a schema first. Spend some time drawing out how the flow of data will go. What happens first? What happens second? So I'm just gonna write out. So what I want to do in my view, let's just look at the releases. Create a form to capture the query, the search query, look up the available endpoints in Ticketmaster API, which ones you need to figure out the next 5 concerts of the artist in question. So I'm guessing in the form, you're gonna fill out an artist, you'll be making lots of requests and getting lots of responses. Cool. So I'm guessing the first thing I'm gonna do is create a form with an input field that accepts an artist. So once I get the artist input, I need to grab the input from the form and manipulate it, like parse it in a way that could be used in the Ticketmaster API. I don't know what that looks like yet. So I need to grab the input from the input form, parse it in a way that will work it in the Ticketmaster API. And then I actually need to make an API request to the Ticketmaster API using like your key and modified artist input. So once I do that, I'm going to get a response back. So get the Ticketmaster API response. In Ticketmaster, I need to parse through the response and grab only the data I want from the response. So with API requests, you can get back a bunch of data. Most of it's going to be irrelevant, but you can grab whatever data you want from the API request or response, and then use that data throughout your application. So parse response data, or parse response, grab only the data that we need. And like, what do we need? So the 5 concerts. The 5 concerts, or it could be the 5. You can grab everything, and so we're going to grab the 5 concerts, and then it says parse through the data. If you use nested JSON, you need for the next 5 concert venues, capture the data addresses. So I've got to capture the addresses. So parse through grab what we need. So addresses or something that can be used in the Google Maps API. So it could be an address, it could be one latitude. I don't know yet. I see what kind of data comes back from the Ticketmaster API. So once we have the data, once we extract only the data we need from the Ticketmaster API, we can like put the location data in a format that is usable in the Google Maps API. Then we can pass that data into a template, and then like pass location data URL in an iframe. This is how the Google Maps that only uses an iframe to render it on the screen. So pass location data URL in an iframe. That's pretty much it. So create a form with an input field that accepts an artist's input. We need to extract the data we put into the input. We have to extract that artist. We have to parse it in a way that's acceptable for the Ticketmaster API. We're going to make an API request to the Ticketmaster API with the artist theory. We need to get the response. We need to parse through the response and only grab the data we need. So it's not location data. We have to look through. I don't know where that's located in the response data. And then we're going to put the location data in a format that is usable for the Google Maps API. We've got to pass that data into a template, like we've been doing. We've always been passing data into a template. And then we kind of render an iframe with that Google Maps URL. Yeah. So that's what we need to do there. Keep that open. So the first thing, create a form. So Ticketmaster concerts. The first thing we need to do, that's pretty standard that we've been doing since the very beginning. Include do concerts. Include concerts.well. Save it, and in our Ticketmaster or concerts app, we create URLs file. I'm going to copy this over. Don't need. There you go. Any of that. So we usually have to import our first URL pattern. Just going /concerts. You want to render views and then like what was it? Artist form, name, artist form. So in our views, there's going to be a method called artist form, which is going to render a template that has a form in it. So in our views, we need to def artist form, takes in a request, and it returns. It would return just a template. Render request, and then templates called concerts /artist form.html. We're not actually passing any data in there because we don't need anything. So we don't have our templates created yet. Go ahead and create that. Templates, concerts, and artist form.html, GTP. Get rid of that. Title. We do search for concert. And I'll keep this. I just want to see H1. Search for artist or search artist. I see no module name concerts.url. Mess this up. This happened to me last time. Where is it? Fresh. So Django URLs, concerts include concerts URL.
Is it because you didn't import the view?
Oh, see.
So you put returns, not return.
My view returns. That's incorrect. And then in my URLs, import everything from views. Kill server.
You got it backwards.
What's up?
It's supposed to be from view or from dot or
From. Cool. Yep. All right, cool. Put the server with control. All right, HTML form doesn't exist.
give it Parse form.
Yeah, it should be one. And use artist forms. There we go. I don't like that one. Delete that. Name. Cool. Still works. Let's get this form up and running. Artist form. Form. Action. Do method post. What else we need? CSRF token. Enter artist name. Input text name artist placeholder everything. Now we need a button. We can also do another input, or we can do a button. Button find concerts type equals submit. All right, cool. Search. So now we have this artist form. Type in find concerts. Now, after I do this, I want to route to like concerts, show concerts. What do I have? Concert list. So an action. So let's keep going down. Route to concert list. Concert list. Concert list. Right. So when I go to click enter, I want to go to concerts / concert list. In my form, I'm going to do a named route, URL, concert list. Refresh this. Refresh this. If I enter, it's not going anywhere. So it says path concert list. Concerts views has no attribute concert list. So that because there's no view. That concert, the concerts list or concert list?
Yeah, it's circular. So you can like multiple
Concerts list. Concerts list. And then update this. Concerts list. concerts list takes in a request. We're not taking in any data yet. We just want to render this. I'm going to try to return an HTTP response just to see if anything shows up. Return HTTP response, list of concerts. There we go. Cool. Now comes the fun part. So I need to extract. So I created a form, the input field that accepts artist input. And right now, all right, we're not quite there yet. In this view, in this concerts list, I want to grab that input. So whatever I type in here, I want to grab. Like if I say Justin Bieber, I want to grab that in here. So how do I do that? Want me to know? So in this artist form, I'm creating a post request. So in this view, it takes in that request. So I'm going to print request dot post. See what that looks like. Here is that post I just. You want to dim the lights? Yeah. So here's that post that I just did. And look right here. There's this artist. Yep. With an artist name. Yes. Just.
Yeah, that's
so. So I can grab artist, all right? Do that. Go back. Click again. Yeah, Justin Bieber. Cool. Leave it to Bieber. All right. Now I'm going to find a variable. Grab that. And you can manipulate that and only like extract like there's spaces and like lowercase, uppercase, remove spaces, and we will do that. But in the meantime, let's look at the ticket. Well, yeah, let's look at the Ticketmaster API. So the Ticketmaster API, need an API key, so we're supposed to create an account. Don't know, so get a list of events in the United States, search for events sourced by universe and the country code with keyword DevJam. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this, see what happens. All right, invalid API key. That's expected. Let's log in. Oh no. This works. So I logged in. 1, 2, 3. Here's my API key, consumer key, secret key. So I'm gonna close that. Go back to the Ticketmaster API, and now my API key should just be rendered throughout this entire all the document. Kind of. So what API endpoint should we be using?
Discovery V2 suggest.
Suggest?
Wait, no.
So I mean, we can use any one, but let's look at. So I'm just looking at what examples, search for events sourced by universe in the United States, Dev Jam. So I'm gonna grab that. Like that. Cool. I don't know what any of that means. Pages. I'm gonna get rid of this source universe country code. Because I don't know what that is. All right. I don't know what Dev Jam. What is Dev Jam? Is that like a genre? Right. Okay. That was Dev Jam.
That's what that was.
All right. So keyword. I don't know if keyword. What other keywords? So I'm just gonna look at an artist in this keyword. What's an artist?
Mr. Elliott.
Look at 311.
That's bringing it back.
Yeah. So we got 311. It's easy for numbers. Let's see. So let's see. Is it Elliott like that? On tour. There we go.
Yeah.
Cool. So it looks like this specific API endpoint is what we want. So we got Missy Elliott, Lady Gaga, Lady Gaga, Enigma, Vegas or something. Yeah. So this is the API endpoint that we need. So I'm just gonna throw this up here. So this is what we actually need to create.
Real quick, I noticed you typed in Missy Elliott and Lady Gaga. The first time you typed in the percentage to 0, and the second time you typed in a plus. Is there a difference or not?
Nah, I mean, I'm sure there is a difference, but I don't know. I just know they both work.
I was actually going to ask with that. I mean, is it worthwhile to that's common spaces, right? But there's a lot of weird characters that could potentially pop up. We just find an encoder to use, or start trying to.
When you get there, yeah, when you get into security, when you're looking at API endpoints on your own application that people are trying to get at, you should regulate what characters are allowed and what aren't. We don't really cover that here, but yeah.
Is there a way to build in that as part of that then, so that way it just automatically runs through an encoder to make sure any spaces or normal things like that in our database get translated properly into the API?
Yeah, you can do that. In your view, in here, when we grab that, so we're currently grabbing the artist.
Mm-hmm.
Our next thing is to generate a Ticketmaster URL, and we're gonna parse through. We're gonna essentially add percent.
Okay.
20.
It's like an artist is it Bjork?
Yep.
It's got that
Oh, that weird.
or whatever that's called kind of letter, so that would obviously be a thing that would not necessarily read through if we just hard code kind of stuff.
Right.
So that's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. So yeah, best practices sure is to parse through any characters, make sure only certain characters are allowed.
Okay.
Or translate, right, this character, then do X with this.
So, your question, when you were testing out, the API was the one that we need, you just copy it and paste it in browser.
Yep, that's all an API is. Is you just throw it in the browser and it should return a JSON response, or a XML response, or a different type of response. But primarily work with JSON, JavaScript object implementation. So in here we're gonna somehow parse through this once we look at it and try to parse through extracting some location data from here. But first we have to generate this URL. So instead of doing everything, we want single responsibility code. Let's create another method called generate Ticketmaster URL that takes in an artist. So we're going to pass this artist into this method, and we're going to replace any spaces. So modify artist equals artist dot replace. I think John kind of went over this morning.
This would be where you put a little underscore in the front because you're only calling it.
Yeah, you can do that, as he did. I'm just going to keep it.
Right. And drop the T off the end of the modified artist.
Thank you. Then I'm going to replace any space with %20. I tested it earlier without doing this, and it still worked. But it's good to have, checking all your parameters, making sure the URL can be manipulated in a case for like security reasons. Modified artist. So I've got my Ticketmaster API up here. I'm just going to say Ticketmaster API. That I'm going to make it a global variable. It should be a const, all uppercase, because it shouldn't be changing that much. And in here, I'm going to return essentially this. And ticket master API. Going to do string interpolation. And then instead of Lady Gaga, you want modified artist. And here, so in our concert list, assign it to ticket master URL equals generate Ticketmaster URL as an artist. So under here, I'm going to print the Ticketmaster URL, and then let's go through like what's exactly happening, and just keep things consistent with this morning. I'm going to put the little underscore in the front because this generate Ticketmaster URL is only used within this file. It's not going to be used throughout the entire application. So in here, I should expect this to show up with the artist and my API key. Localhost, go back. To Missy Elliott. Full list of concerts, but now look down here in our console. We have HTTP, Ticketmaster.com, word Missy %20 Elliott with our API key. Click. I'm going to open this, and here we go. So that's cool. So we have the API URL that we're going to be using. Now we actually have to make that request to that URL. And that's where in the documentation we get into the requests. The request response, the request library. Getting started with requests. Request is the Python way on how to do HTTP requests using the APIs. If you read through the documentation, the request library is the de facto standard for making HTTP requests in Python. It abstracts complexities making requests behind a beautiful, simple API so you can focus on interacting with services and consuming data in your application. So it's exactly what we're doing. We're interacting with the Ticketmaster API. We're going to getting data back from it, and then we're a part of it. So don't necessarily. So it looks like we have to install it. So it's not already built. It's already not pre-installed in Python. So the server, pip install requests. Clear. So we don't need this anymore. Up here, we're going to have to import from request. Import, no, not from. Import requests as, I'm going to just import it as REQ, just so I don't have to keep on typing on requests every time I use it. So let's look down documentation, get request. So to test this out, you can make the get request. So request.get and then some API URL. So for example, we might do the Ticketmaster API request. So it looks like something like this. We have the Ticketmaster URL. Let's pass the Ticketmaster URL. We don't need this print statement anymore. So let's actually print the response. Start the server. Ticketmaster, host. And we submit it. So Justin.
You imported wrong.
I imported wrong?
Yeah.
No, you just have requests as requests still instead of.
I see.
Yeah.
Crash. Cool. So here's our response. We can't really do anything with that. Like, I don't know what that means. Like, okay, cool, we got a response. But how we put it in the format that we're able to use. We have status code, print not found, print success, print errors, JSON. So take a look at the response. You'll see that it actually serialized JSON content. You get a dictionary, you response.json. So I'll create another variable called data, response.json, and go with that. So hopefully we get some data back. Once we get that, we'll go through everything. Submit a form, 11, find concerts. We're not displaying anything yet. All right. Print data, refresh. Jesus. So this is all the data that we're getting back. A lot of fun. All right. Let's see what we just did. Create an artist form that you should be pretty familiar with. Create an artist, input an artist. When click submit, it goes to this name URL, concert list. It goes into our URLs, concert list. Goes to this concert list URL. Goes to views concert list. Comes into this concert list method. Grab request. It's the post request. It has this artist attached to it. So we extract the artist name from the input field. We run this generate Ticketmaster URL. We're passing in the artist. Comes into here. Generate Ticketmaster URL. Passing in the artist name. We're modifying the artist name to replace all the spaces with %20 to get rid of spaces. URL. We're returning the Ticketmaster API, the keyword, the modified artist. We're adding the API key, Ticketmaster API.
Why are you having it add the Ticketmaster API instead of just manually putting in your API? You're not going to change it, right?
Right. So it's not hard coded down here. I can keep everything extracted into, and you'll see this when there's secret keys. You don't want to show people your API. So yeah. So you don't see like we don't really worry about it now because these are like public APIs. But when you're at secret keys, you're going to be importing these as like environmental variables.
What is the difference between the API key and the secret key?
The secret key is on not the user side, so it's only on the client side. So a user to your website can't see it.
Okay. Do they see the secret key instead of your
there's a secret key, there's a public API key and a secret key. So the public API key everyone sees is key. But we're dealing with public APIs, so we're only dealing with like a public API. And it's just to keep everything separate. Yeah, I could easily put this down here and it would still work. In fact, best practices, we export this into settings, so no one actually like does these. Then you import it in your view. But we don't have to get that complex yet. So that's what we're doing. So now, what's next? So make an API request, input, get Ticketmaster response, parse through the response, and only grab the data we need. So we're right here. So now at this point, we should probably see what kind of data we need. Don't know how the Google Maps API. We've already done this. So developer key kind of gives you a quick start on how to do it. You do need to enable the Google Maps, Google Embed API, that's what it's called. To get started, an API key, you can go through this. There's a Google Platform Console. Click the drop down, select create a project. I already created a project called Ticketmaster. If you didn't, create a new project, enable it. Does anybody want me to go through this process? Create a new project and a new API. No? Pretty straightforward. So, I'm going to go Google Maps, that API to see what do I need to actually, so I see something like that, developer guide. So as this morning, I need this in my template to render it, but I need to create a URL, like Google Maps URL. But here it says like use a Space Needle. I don't see if there's anything else. So the following URL parameters are required. Center. So it looks like I can also use latitude and longitude as well instead of like an address. So let's see if there's actually any data. Like we have to parse through this big, massive JSON file, JSON data to see what we have. So it looks like we have it's a large object, JSON object, embedded key. We have events. Events is an array. Cool. And event, so the first index of this array is an object. It has name, type, event, has images, sales, dates, anything else? Images.
So that Ticketmaster did have their data models listed right up front for like their entire.
There's other. Map ticket, venues, country. So it looks like links, seat map, products, price ranges. But I'm looking down here in venue.
What is the extension that made that readable?
I'm not like sure if you just search. I think it might be built in, but if not, it's like look for a Google. Go to Google Chrome, And there should be,
Oh, but it's based on the-
yeah, I think it's just like JSON viewer or something.
Got one so JSON formatter with a bunch.
So here in the venues, I see that there's state, Nevada, there's location, longitude, and latitude. So I can get that data somehow. Somehow I have to get that data. So I need to essentially make a bunch of Google Maps URLs that look something like this, maybe. Yeah, key, tower. I'll show you what I mean. Google Maps embed API longitude latitude example. This. Try that. So views. So the URL for Google Maps is going to look something like this. HTTP. You got the key. Google Maps API. We got longitude and latitude, and that should generate. That's the URL that we need to place into our iframe. It says iframe. But first, I'm going to grab my Google Maps API key. Grab API. There we go. Credential. Got it. Right here. So, this is my Google Maps. Google Maps API. And it needs to return something like this. So we have this data, which is a gigantic JSON file. And we need to go to embed events and loop through all the events and go to embed venues, which is images, city, state, location. We need to grab all that. So I need to grab a bunch of like latitude and longitude locations. So I'm going to store those locations into a empty array. And I'm going to go for events in data underscore embedded. So data.embedded. So it was data.embedded. Now I got to go into events. Events is a array, so I have to loop through that array. So that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm going to grab that. With locations.append. So I'm appending this event. So an event is an individual index. So it's just one thing, so 20 items in here. And I'm going into venues. So events, I guess I gotta go to embedded first. I gotta go in within venues, which is an array. Do this. Then go to location. Got the latitude and longitude. So what that looks like, I'm gonna grab event. I gotta go do embedded again. I gotta go to venues. I just want to see how many array. There's 22 items in here. So I just gotta grab the very first index. Yep, grab the very first index of venues. 0. Very first index, I can grab location. That should be an object of latitude or longitude and latitude. Now I'm going to print location. Then we'll take a break and keep going.
Line 17, you missed the S after location.
Thank you. Go to the host, go back, you submit the form.
Sorry, I'm not in that one, in the beginning of line 17. Locations named on 15, and then that was just missing.
That works?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. So I'm going to refresh. 311, find concerts. List of concerts. Down here, I have an array of objects of longitude and latitude. Well, it's what I need to use to convert into a Google Maps API URL. So we can stop right there.